don't know exactly when my father came to live with me, but I'm pretty sure it was sometime in 2014. I do know that in November of 2019, all of my childhood dreams came true when my mother came to live with me too. Ever since my parents divorced when I was 7 years old, I wanted them back together again. And now here I am in my 40s. And I have them together under one roof. I really never imagined how much joy it would bring me or the blessing it would be to my children. Now, when people hear about this situation, they often marvel. And they're like, whoa, my parents could never. They don't even like each other. They don't want to be in the same room together. And I always think, after all this time? Now, don't get me wrong. It's not all sunshine and roses at my house. My parents are, in fact, assholes. And I say that with love. And as much respect as is possible, right? So, now my mom would say it's more like genius mom, asshole dad. My dad says it's more like kind and caring dad, asshole mom. But I'm here to tell you, it's both of them. Now, I didn't really come to this realization until much later in life. When I was a child, I thought my mother was the problem. Sorry, Mom. But despite their character flaws, and there are many, they did manage to do one thing right. So, now I was introduced to family law while I was still a law student over 20 years ago. And I became interested in the welfare of children even as an undergraduate. And I can tell you, I am grateful for the family court system. There are a number of families that would not be able to function properly without court intervention. But there are just as many families, if not more, that are doing more harm than good by going to court to solve a problem that is better solved by my 3 pillars of parenting. Parenting pillars that I derive from the way that my parents raised me. Now, when I first developed these pillars, of course, I had never been divorced with children. I only had the perspective of that as a child. Now, fast forward many years later, I am divorced with kids and co-parenting 3 children. And while the pillars are still the same, they're not really that easy to follow. It was a good lesson to learn. I think part of the reason me and my mom's relationship is so strong to this day is she says she doesn't think I really cramped her style a lot as a child. I said, of course not. I was with my dad every weekend. Right? He recalls working at the steel mill how his coworkers would say, well, you know, you don't have to get your daughter every weekend. And he would say, have to? Get to? What else would I be doing? Which leads us to pillar number 1, valuing time with your child. Now, if you would imagine with me that your child is $1 million, stack of bills, gold coins inside a vault. Now, a married couple, mom and dad, both have equal unfettered access to this $1 million to spend it at will. But in the state of Ohio, only the unmarried mother has that right. Dad can only spend as much money as mom allows or as he is granted from the court. And so while, as much as it would seem like a person would want to exercise their right to spend as much of that money as they can, you can't make somebody take the time with something as valuable. You can, however, get in trouble if you try to withhold money from somebody that is rightfully owed. So, as much as I was with my dad every weekend, at the end of the weekend, my mom or her mom would pick me up. And my grandma still to this day tells this story. She says, undoubtedly, when I would pick you up, you'd be sticky and stinky. And when I asked you what you eaten, you'd say cheese and hot peppers. But you'd be so happy, right? Which leads me to pillar number 2. Don't expect perfection. Now, my mom and my grandmother would have been well within their rights to decide to limit my time with my dad until he could learn nutrition and hygiene. But instead, they focused on how happy I was. And I'm definitely no worse for the wear. In fact, I think I'm better because of the close relationship I have with my dad. And so I ask you to ask yourself if you're ever inclined to keep your child away from the other parent. Is this parent dangerous, or are they just different? One of the reasons my mother says she's able to tolerate living in the house with my dad is because she respects the fact that he was a good father to me, right? And my dad similarly says that he respects the fact that my mother didn't keep me away from him. Which leads me to pillar number 3, respect the other parent. Now, respecting the other parent is really more about your character than that of the other parent. See? Because I have to respect the fact that my kids are crazy about their dad. They may even like him more than me. Much to my chagrin, right? So the other day, he calls the house, and he is in rare form. Cussing and mean and angry and nasty. And it made me so angry in that moment. And I just wanted the kids to be angry with him too. I wanted to knock him down a couple of pegs in their eyesight. And so I put the phone on speaker and I let that poison fill the room. And then I looked at my kids' faces, and they were sad and they were angry, but not at him. At me. And it reminded me, I don't get to control his relationship with his children. It is his responsibility to develop that relationship. The only thing I can do is interfere, which is really to hinder in a negative way. And quite frankly, he has just as much right to drive them to therapy as I do. So I really am very thankful for the example that has been set for me by my parents, for the legacy that they've created, for the fact that they've made it normal for me to be able to have both of them at home. It's the same normalcy that I want for my children, that I want for your children, that I want for all children of divorced and unmarried parents. And so now, I stand before you a proud asshole parent, raising future asshole parents. Thank you.